Hyun-woo stood in the middle of the Grand Hall on Galactic Council Station Omega-7, feeling very small. The ceiling stretched up so high he could barely see it. Around him, creatures from a dozen different worlds whispered and stared. Some had scales, some had fur, some looked like they were made of light itself. He tugged at his diplomatic uniform and tried to smile. Commander Vrel approached him. The insectoid alien's many eyes blinked in sequence, which Hyun-woo had learned meant curiosity. Vrel's translator device clicked before speaking. Ambassador Hyun-woo of Earth, we have reviewed your planet's classification. This is most concerning. Hyun-woo nodded politely. I understand this is all new for both of us. New? Vrel's antennae twitched violently. Your world is rated Class 1-2 on the danger scale. This is the highest rating possible. Only 17 worlds in known space carry this designation. Most species avoid them entirely. A feline-like creature named Kira stepped forward. Her silver fur rippled with what looked like nervousness. The data we received is quite alarming. Your planet has predators on every continent, in every ocean, even in the air. How does your species survive? Hyun-woo laughed. He could not help it. The question seemed so strange. Oh. We manage just fine. Actually, I live with 3 apex predators right now. The room went completely silent. Every alien stopped moving. Even the ones who had been floating paused in midair. Vrel's voice came out very quiet. You live with them? Well, yes. They're family. Hyun-woo pulled out his phone. He had been warned that showing personal items might be considered odd, but he wanted to share. Here, let me show you some pictures. He swiped to his favorite photo. It showed a large German shepherd, with its tongue hanging out, sitting in a living room. This is Max. He's 7 years old. Best friend I ever had. Kira made a sound like a kettle whistling. That creature has fangs designed for tearing flesh. Its jaw strength could crush bone. You allow it in your home? He's a good boy, Hyun-woo said, confused by her reaction. He swiped to another photo. And this is Luna. She's a bit moody sometimes, but she loves sitting in my lap. The photo showed a tabby cat sleeping on a cushion. Several aliens gasped. One of them, a reptilian diplomat, actually took 3 steps backward. Another predator. The reptilian wheezed. Your world has multiple apex hunting species, and you collect them? They're not really apex predators, Hyun-woo tried to explain. Well, technically, they evolved from apex predators, but we domesticated them thousands of years ago. They're companions, friends. He showed them one more picture. His python, coiled peacefully in her terrarium. And this is Rosie. She's very gentle. Loves to be held. That was apparently too much. Half the diplomatic delegation moved toward the exits. Kira climbed onto a table, her fur standing on end. Vrel made rapid clicking sounds that the translator could not process properly. Please, everyone calm down, Hyun-woo said, genuinely worried now. They're just pets. We feed them and take care of them. They're completely safe. Pets? Vrel finally managed to translate clearly. Please define this term. Animals we keep for companionship. We love them. They're part of our families. Most humans have at least one pet. Some have many. An elderly alien who looked like a floating jellyfish spoke up. Her voice was very old and very tired. Let me understand correctly. These creatures that could kill you, that evolved to hunt and consume flesh. You bring them into your homes? You call them family? You provide them with food and shelter, willingly? Yes, exactly. Hyun-woo felt relieved that someone understood. My dog Max greets me every day when I come home. My cat Luna sleeps on my bed. They make life better, happier. And they do not attack you? Kira asked from her position on the table. No, of course not. We've bred them over generations to be friendly, to trust us, to love us. And we love them back. Hyun-woo scrolled through more photos on his phone. Look, here's Max wearing a birthday hat. We celebrated his 7th birthday last month. My son made him a special cake from meat and vegetables. The jellyfish alien drifted closer, apparently braver than the others. This is beyond our understanding. On my world, we avoid our predators. We build barriers. We develop weapons. The concept of inviting them into our homes is unthinkable. But they're not dangerous anymore, Hyun-woo insisted. We trained them. We bred the aggression out of them over thousands of years. Now they're loyal and loving. Max would protect my family with his life. Luna brings us joy every day. Rosie is beautiful and calm. Vrel's translator made several confused sounds before speaking again. Your species took apex predators and transformed them into companions through selective breeding and training. This required how long? For dogs, about 15,000 years. Cats domesticated themselves, really. They decided we were useful and moved in with us. They chose to live with you? The reptilian diplomat had stopped retreating. The predators chose cohabitation? Sure, we had food and shelter. They had hunting skills and companionship to offer. It worked out well for everyone. Kira slowly climbed down from the table. I need to file a report about this. The council must know. Humans do not fear their planet's predators. They adopt them. They love them. She looked at Hyun-woo with something that might have been respect or might have been terror. Your species is very strange. Hyun-woo smiled and put his phone away. We just believe that most creatures can be friends if you treat them with kindness and respect. Even the scary-looking ones. The diplomatic session was postponed. Someone needed to verify these claims. Someone needed to see Earth for themselves. Commander Vrel volunteered, though his antennae drooped with obvious reluctance. Hyun-woo could not wait to introduce them to his family. He wondered what they would think of his wife's veterinary clinic, or his son's hamster, or the neighborhood dogs at the park. This was going to be interesting. The diplomatic shuttle touched down in Hyun-woo's neighborhood on a bright Tuesday morning. Commander Vrel was the first to exit, followed by Kira and Ambassador Threx, a large reptilian who had claimed multiple times that he feared nothing in the known universe. Hyun-woo waited by his front door, trying not to laugh at their careful movements. They walked like they expected something to jump out at any moment. In a way, they were right. "Welcome to my home," Hyun-woo called out cheerfully. The front door opened before he could reach it. His wife Ji-won stepped out, smiling warmly. Draped across her shoulders was a 4-foot corn snake, its scales gleaming yellow and orange in the sunlight. "Hello, you must be our guests from the stars. I'm Ji-won. Sorry, I was just finishing up with Rosie's health check." She stroked the snake's head gently. "Would anyone like tea?" Kira made that whistling sound again and hid behind Vrel. Ambassador Threx's scales turned a pale green color. Vrel's translator stuttered for several seconds before managing. "The serpent. It is venomous?" No. Rosie's a corn snake, completely harmless. She's basically a noodle with eyes." Ji-won seemed surprised by their reaction. "Oh dear. Should I put her back inside?" "Please," Vrel said weakly. Ji-won disappeared inside. The aliens waited in tense silence until she returned, snake-free. "Sorry about that. I forget that not everyone grows up around reptiles. Come in. Come in." The living room was comfortable and normal by human standards. A large couch, a television, bookshelves, and curled up on a cushion by the window, a large German shepherd raised his head and looked at the visitors. Max stood up, stretched, and walked over to investigate. His tail wagged slowly. He sniffed at Vrel with interest. "Good boy, Max. These are friends." Hyun-woo scratched behind the dog's ears. Max sat down and offered his paw to Vrel. "It is." "Offering a limb?" Vrel stared at the paw. "He wants to shake hands." "It's a greeting. A friendly gesture." Hyun-woo demonstrated by shaking Max's paw. "Your turn." Very slowly, Vrel extended one of his manipulator limbs. Max's paw touched it gently. The dog's tail wagged faster. It seems pleased, Kira observed from the doorway. Why? Because you're guests. Dogs love meeting new people. Max is a very social boy. Before anyone could respond, thundering footsteps echoed from upstairs. An 8-year-old boy burst into the room, clutching a glass terrarium. Taeyang, remember what we talked about? Gentle introductions. But Taeyang was already in front of Ambassador Threx, holding up the terrarium. Inside sat a large pink-toed tarantula. This is Princess Fluff. She's a Chilean rose hair. I've had her for 6 months. Want to hold her? Ambassador Threx, who had claimed to be fearless, made a sound like air escaping from a balloon and sat down very suddenly on the couch. Maybe later, son, Hyunwoo said gently. Why don't you tell them about Pepper? Oh yeah. Taeyang set down the terrarium carefully. He whistled, and a ferret bounded into the room, chittering excitedly. The ferret began a series of energetic jumps and twists, bouncing around the alien's feet. Kira levitated slightly, to avoid contact. She's playing, Taeyang explained. Ferrets do this thing called a war dance when they're happy. Isn't it cool? War dance? Vrel's antennae stood straight up. It's not an actual war. It's just playing. She's having fun. She's having fun. Jiwon brought in a tray with tea and cookies. Taeyang, why don't you take Princess Fluff back upstairs? After Taeyang left, reluctantly, Jiwon settled into a chair. You'll have to forgive our son. He's very excited about meeting aliens. He's been collecting pictures of Earth animals to show you. How many creatures do you keep in this dwelling? Ambassador Threx asked, having recovered slightly. Let's see. Max the dog. Luna the cat, though she's probably hiding. Taeyang has Princess Fluff the tarantula, Pepper the ferret, and a hamster named Sergeant Whiskers. Why do they all have names? Kira asked. Ji-won looked puzzled. Because they're individuals. They have personalities. Sergeant Whiskers is grumpy in the mornings. Pepper loves stealing socks. Luna only purrs when she wants something. They're part of our family, so of course they have names. And you are a medical professional? Vrel asked, clearly trying to change the subject. Yes, I'm a veterinarian. I run a clinic about 10 minutes from here. Would you like to visit? I have appointments this afternoon. The aliens exchanged glances. Finally, Vrel said, we would like to observe your work with Earth creatures. For research purposes. Ji-won's clinic was busy when they arrived. In the waiting room sat a woman with a parrot, a man with a lizard in a carrier, and a teenage girl with a very large rabbit. That's a lot of different species, Kira observed. Oh. This is normal. We treat everything from hamsters to horses. Ji-won checked her schedule. First patient is Chestnut. She's a lovely mare with a sore hoof. They followed her to the larger examination room, where a massive horse stood patiently. The horse was easily 10 times the size of any of the aliens. Ambassador Threx stayed near the exit. Ji-won approached the horse without any fear, speaking softly. Hello. Beautiful girl. Let's see that foot. She lifted the horse's hoof and examined it carefully. Just a small stone bruise. Nothing serious. We'll wrap it, and you'll be good as new. You show no fear, Vrel observed. Why would I? Chestnut is gentle. Most animals are, when you know how to read their body language and treat them with respect. Throughout the afternoon, they watched Ji-won treat a nervous cat, a excited puppy, a iguana with skin problems, and a cockatoo with a broken feather. With each animal, she was patient and kind. On my world, Ambassador Threx said quietly, we have creatures similar to your horses. We use machines to approach them. We developed technology specifically to avoid direct contact. You simply walk up and touch them. They trust me, Ji-won said simply. I trust them. That's how it works. On the drive home, they passed a park. Dozens of humans walked with dogs of various sizes. Children played, while animals ran around them. An elderly man sat on a bench, with a cat in his lap. Everyone has them, Kira whispered. That evening, Taeyang finally convinced Ambassador Threx to let Princess Fluff walk on his arm. The spider moved slowly, carefully. Threx's scales remained pale green, but he did not pull away. She likes you, Taeyang said happily. See? She's not scary at all. Later, after the aliens had returned to their shuttle for the night, Vrel filed his report. He did not know how to explain what he had witnessed. Humans did not just tolerate dangerous creatures. They loved them. They named them. They brought them to medical professionals when they were sick. It was completely illogical. It was entirely impractical. It made no survival sense. And yet, the humans seemed genuinely happy. Their creatures seemed content. Everyone coexisted peacefully. Vrel's report concluded with a single line. Recommend further investigation. Human behavior does not match any known pattern. The Galactic Council maintained a facility on the edge of known space. They called it the Preserve, though most species simply called it the prison for monsters. Behind force fields and energy barriers lived the most dangerous predators from 50 different worlds. Creatures that had killed countless beings. Animals that made hardened soldiers wake up, screaming. Sujin arrived at the preserve on a cold morning, her credentials marking her as a wildlife conservationist and xenobiologist. The facility director, Captain Marn, met her at the entrance. He was a drakon, a species that prided itself on being warrior predators. Human Sujin, Marn said, his voice like gravel grinding together. I must warn you. What we keep here is not for the faint of spirit. Many species refuse to even view recordings of these creatures. Sujin smiled politely. I've read the files. I'm here to assess their living conditions and propose welfare improvements. Marn's expression was difficult to read on his reptilian face, but it might have been amusement. Welfare improvements. For apex predators, this should be interesting. The first enclosure held a Vraxian stalker, a creature that looked like a cross between a bear and a mantis, with 6 powerful limbs and mandibles that could cut through steel. It paced back and forth in a space barely 3 times its body length. Sujin stopped walking. This enclosure is far too small. The creature is extremely dangerous. We keep the space limited for safety. It's going insane from boredom and stress. Sujin pulled out her tablet and started making notes. Look at the repetitive pacing. The way it's wearing down its claws on the wall. These are clear signs of severe psychological distress. It killed 47 soldiers before we captured it. I'm sure it did. But keeping it in conditions like this is cruel. Sujin moved closer to the force field. The stalker stopped pacing and turned to look at her. Its eyes were yellow and very intelligent. Don't get too close, Marn warned. Sujin ignored him. She sat down cross-legged in front of the barrier. The stalker tilted its head, watching her. Very slowly, Sujin reached into her bag and pulled out an apple. She took a bite, chewing thoughtfully while maintaining eye contact with the creature. What are you doing? Marn asked. Observing. Making myself less threatening. Building trust. The stalker sat down, mirroring her posture. See? It's curious. Intelligent. Not just a mindless killer. They moved through the facility. Each enclosure was the same story. Small spaces. No enrichment. Animals showing signs of severe stress. Sujin's notes grew longer and longer. When they reached the section holding a pack of Corvan razorbacks, 6-legged predators covered in metallic spines, Sujin actually gasped. They're pack hunters. Social animals. Why are they separated? They fight when grouped together. They're fighting because they're stressed and confined. In nature, they hunt together. They raise young together. You've isolated them. Sujin's voice grew firm. This needs to change. Immediately. With respect, human Sujin, you have been here less than an hour. I have managed this facility for 20 years. Then you've been doing it wrong for 20 years. She turned to face him directly. These are living beings. Yes, they're dangerous. Yes, they're powerful. But they deserve better than this. If you want to keep them here, you need to provide proper habitats, enrichment, socialization, where appropriate. Marn's scales flushed darker, a sign of anger in his species. And you believe you can do better? I know I can. Give me 3 months. If I can't improve conditions and reduce aggressive behavior in these animals, I'll leave and never bother you again. Captain Marn agreed, mostly because he believed she would fail. He assigned her a small team and unlimited access to the creatures. Sujin started with the Vraxian stalker. She had the enclosure expanded to 10 times its original size. She added trees for climbing, rocks for scratching, a pool for bathing. She installed puzzle feeders that made the creature work for its meals, engaging its intelligence. Then came the risky part. After 2 weeks of the stalker getting used to its new environment, Sujin entered the enclosure. Marn watched from the observation deck, ready to activate emergency protocols. Hello, friend, Sujin said softly. The stalker looked at her, mandibles clicking. She sat down and waited. Hours passed. Finally, the creature approached. It sniffed at her carefully. Then it sat down nearby, not quite close but not hostile. Each day, Sujin spent time in the enclosure. She brought food. She installed new enrichment items. She talked to the stalker in a calm voice. By week 3, the creature would approach her directly. By week 5, it let her touch its armored hide. Young Ho arrived at the facility during week 6. He was a zookeeper from Earth, recruited specifically by Sujin for this project. He took one look at the Corvan Razorbacks and immediately demanded they be reunited. They need their pack, Young Ho insisted. Look at them. They're calling for each other. Indeed, the separated Razorbacks made constant high-pitched sounds, trying to communicate through the barriers. Against Marn's protests, they reunited the pack in a massive new enclosure. The Razorbacks immediately stopped their distress calls. They huddled together, grooming each other, clearly relieved. We'll need to monitor them constantly, Marn warned. Young Ho just smiled. Watch. The Razorbacks adapted to their new space within days. They played together. They hunted simulated prey as a coordinated unit. One evening, Young Ho entered their enclosure with food. The pack surrounded him, but they did not attack. They had learned he was the food bringer, the enrichment giver. The breakthrough came 2 months into the project. Sujin had been working with a creature called a Midnight Terror, something that looked like a 6-legged panther with too many teeth. It had killed more beings than any other creature in the facility. Everyone said it could not be tamed, could not be calmed. Sujin discovered it was lonely. The species bonded for life with a single mate, and this one's mate had died during capture. She began spending 12-hour shifts in its enclosure, simply being present. She just existed nearby, reading books, eating meals, showing it that not all beings were threats. One night, she fell asleep in the enclosure. Captain Marn discovered her at dawn and nearly had a heart attack. The Midnight Terror was curled around her, its body providing warmth. When Sujin woke up, she carefully scratched behind its ear. The creature made a sound that was almost a purr. Security footage of that morning went viral across the galactic network. News shows played it constantly. Human sleeps with unkillable predator read the headlines. Deathworlder tames the untamable. By month 3, every creature in the facility had improved living conditions. Aggressive behaviors dropped by 80%. Several species that had been considered impossible to manage were now docile around their human caretakers. Young Ho started a breeding program for endangered predator species. Within a year, they had successfully bred 3 different kinds of nearly extinct apex predators. The babies, raised with human contact from birth, were gentle and trusting. Captain Marn filed a report with the Galactic Council. It was very different from his initial assessment. He wrote, "Humans do not dominate predators through strength or technology. They do it through patience, understanding, and something they call compassion. I do not fully comprehend it, but I cannot deny the results." In the final paragraph, he added, "Recommend hiring more humans for xenobiology positions. Also recommend psychological evaluation for myself, as I have developed affection for the Vraxian stalker, and find myself calling it good creature when it successfully completes puzzle feeders." Sujin read the report and laughed. She was currently sitting in an enclosure with the Midnight Terror's head in her lap, scratching the creature's favorite spot while it made contented rumbling sounds. "See?" she told it. "Everyone just needs a friend." The Kresh were very proud of their military strength. They had conquered 12 systems without losing a single battle. Their secret weapon was biological engineering. They created creatures specifically designed to kill, then released them on target worlds before invasion. Their latest creation was called the Render. It stood 8 feet tall, had claws like knives, skin that could deflect energy weapons, and a hunting instinct refined through genetic manipulation. The Kresh bred 100 Renders and deployed them on the human colony world of New Haven. The attack was supposed to be simple. Release the Renders. Wait 3 weeks while they eliminated all colonists. Move in and claim the empty planet. Min Seok was examining coral samples in New Haven's coastal research station when the emergency alert sounded. The message was clear. Hostile bioweapons deployed. Evacuate. Immediately. He joined the other colonists at the spaceport. Ships lifted off, carrying civilians to safety in orbit. But Min Seok noticed something. Where's the livestock? The pets? Did anyone evacuate the animal sanctuary? The evacuation coordinator shook her head. No room. People first. The animals will have to take their chances. Min Seok looked at the last ship preparing to leave. Then he looked at his research station by the water. He had been studying Earth dolphins and their adaptation to alien oceans. He thought about the sanctuary in the Northern Valley, full of horses and goats and chickens that colonists had brought from Earth. He did not get on the ship. Jae-hee made the same decision. She was a pilot who had been transporting supplies when the alert came. Her ship held 3 dogs, 2 cats, and a parrot that belonged to various colonists. She could have joined the evacuation fleet. Instead, she flew north to the animal sanctuary. When she landed, she found Min Seok already there, herding terrified livestock into barns. "Couldn't leave them either?" she called out. "They're innocent. They didn't ask to be here." Min Seok secured a gate. "If we're going to die, might as well die doing something decent. Who said anything about dying?" Jae-hee grinned. "I've got supplies, emergency equipment, and a complete lack of common sense. Let's go meet these Renders." The first Render appeared on day 2. It was hunting near the coastal station where Min Seok had set up a temporary base. The creature was magnificent in a terrifying way. Pure muscle and predatory grace. Its eyes scanned the beach with cold intelligence. Min Seok watched it through binoculars. The Render was stalking a small herd of goats he had moved to the coastline. He could evacuate the goats, but the Render would just find them again, or it would find the other animals, or it would eventually find him and Jae-hee. He made a decision that was either very brave or very stupid. He walked out onto the beach, carrying a bucket of fish he had caught that morning. The Render spotted him immediately. It turned, dropping into a hunting crouch. Every muscle in its body tensed for the kill. Min Seok set down the bucket and stepped back. "Hey there, big guy. You look hungry. These fish are fresh. Much easier than chasing goats. Right?" The Render stared at him. It had been programmed to kill humans. Its entire genetic structure screamed at it to attack, but it was also hungry, and the fish smelled good. The creature's programming fought with basic, pragmatic biology. Biology won. The Render approached the bucket cautiously and ate the fish. Min Seok stayed very still. When the Render finished, It looked at him again. Then it turned and walked away, without attacking. Interesting, Minsuk whispered to himself. Over the next week, he repeated the process. Each day, he brought fish to the beach. Each day, the render came to eat. On day 5, the render arrived early, waiting for him. On day 7, it let him approach within 10 feet. Jaehi had her own encounter. 3 renders found her at the sanctuary. She was feeding horses when they appeared at the fence line. The horses panicked, but Jaehi stayed calm. Easy, everyone. Let's not do anything sudden. She grabbed her emergency supply pack. Inside were ration bars, designed for quick energy. She opened 3 of them and tossed them toward the renders. The creatures caught the bars mid-air. They sniffed them, confused. These were not living prey, but they contained concentrated protein and nutrients. The renders ate them. Good creatures, Jaehi said, borrowing the phrase she had heard human xenobiologists use. Very good creatures. Want more? She established a routine. 3 times a day, she brought food to the fence line. The renders came to expect it. After 2 weeks, she started throwing rubber balls for them to chase. The renders, bred for hunting, found the movement irresistible. They chased the balls and brought them back, instinct overriding programming. By week 3, when the creche arrived expecting an empty colony, they found something very different. Min Seok's render, which he had named Storm, lived at the coastal station. The creature followed him around during research work. It seemed fascinated by the dolphins. When Min Seok went swimming to check equipment, Storm sat on the beach, watching carefully. Once, a large shark approached too close. Storm dove into the water and drove it away. Jaehi's 3 renders, dubbed Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie by the pilot, had become protective of the sanctuary. They patrolled the perimeter. They helped herd livestock. Alpha particularly loved the horses and could often be found sleeping in the stable. The other 96 renders had scattered across the colony, and they had all encountered humans who refused to evacuate. Every human had responded the same way, with food, kindness, and patience. Now renders could be found at research stations, farms, and small settlements. All of them fed, all of them treated well, none of them aggressive. The creche scout ship landed in the main colony square. Commander Zhek emerged, expecting silence and death. Instead, he found a human woman walking a render on what appeared to be a leash. The render had a collar with its name tag, Sweetie. Zhek's translator struggled with what he was seeing. This is impossible. The renders are programmed to kill. They are the perfect weapon. The woman smiled. Oh, Sweetie here. She's an absolute darling. Loves belly rubs. Would you like to meet her? Across the colony, similar scenes played out. Renders and humans coexisted peacefully. Some renders stayed near farms, attracted to the regular meals and comfortable shelter. Others bonded with individual humans, following them like oversized dogs. A young colonist named Bo-Ra had taught her render to play fetch. Security footage showed her throwing sticks, while the 8-foot bioweapon bounded after them with what could only be described as joy. Another colonist, Dong Hyun, discovered his render loved music. The creature would sit for hours while Dong Hyun played guitar, its head tilted in apparent appreciation. The breaking point came when a creche soldier tried to recapture one of the renders. The creature was resting in a barn, and the soldier approached with restraints. Before he could get close, the barn's owner, a woman named Hae Young, stepped between them. Excuse me, but that's my friend you're trying to capture. That is military property. A weapon. It belongs to the creche. He's a living being with feelings and preferences. His name is Thunder. He likes apples, and he's staying here. Thunder, hearing the aggressive tone from the soldier, moved to stand beside Ha Young. The creature made a deep, rumbling sound that was definitely a warning. The soldier retreated. Commander Zhek filed an emergency report. The humans have compromised all 100 renders. The creatures now respond to human commands and actively protect human interests. They show behaviors never programmed into them. Playfulness, affection, loyalty. I do not understand how this happened. The Kresh Council was equally baffled. They had spent decades perfecting the render design. The creatures were supposed to be emotionless killing machines. Instead, they were bringing sticks to humans and demanding belly rubs. When the Kresh fleet attempted a full invasion, they found their former bioweapons defending the human colony. Renders stood beside human soldiers. They protected farms and settlements. They fought with ferocity, but now that ferocity was directed at the Kresh, the invasion failed. The Kresh retreated, utterly defeated by their own weapons. Minseok sat on the beach with Storm, watching the last Kresh ship leave orbit. The render's head rested in his lap, content and relaxed. "Good creature," Minseok said, scratching behind Storm's ear plates. "Very good creature. Who's the best render?" "You are." Storm made a sound that might have been a purr. Overhead, the colonists' ships returned from orbit. New Haven was safe, and it had 97 new residents who just wanted food, shelter, and someone to call them a good creature. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was the most attended in history. Representatives from every member species filled the Grand Chamber. The topic was urgent. What to do about the humans and their dangerous habit of adopting apex predators. President HFY stood at the center podium. She had been elected Earth's representative specifically because of her background in animal rights activism. She looked calm despite the hundreds of alien eyes watching her every movement. Elder Vox, an ancient being whose species had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, called the session to order. His voice echoed through the chamber. "We gather to address the human situation. In the past year, we have received reports from 17 systems. All report the same pattern. Humans adopting dangerous predators. Humans befriending apex hunters. Humans treating weapons as pets." A reptilian ambassador stood. "My world has predators we have feared for thousands of years. Humans arrived, and within 6 months had domesticated them. Our younglings now play with creatures that used to eat our ancestors." A insectoid delegate clicked her mandibles. "Humans visited our nature preserve. They said our most dangerous specimens looked stressed and lonely. They started enrichment programs. Now our death beasts perform tricks for treats. The Kresh renders," another voice called out. "Perfect killing machines. Humans turned them into companions in less than a month." President HFY listened to each complaint patiently. When the chamber quieted, she spoke. "With respect, I hear accusations, but no actual problems. Have humans harmed anyone? Have our practices caused damage to your worlds? You disrupted established security protocols," someone argued. "By making dangerous animals safer to be around? You interfered with military operations," the Kresh ambassador said bitterly. "By befriending creatures you were using as weapons?" HFY's voice remained calm. "Perhaps the question we should ask is why you were using living beings as disposable weapons in the first place." That caused a stir. Elder Vox raised a hand for silence. "Please, continue." President HFY. A xenoanthropologist named Daun approached the podium. She had requested permission to present research findings. "Honorable Council members, I have studied human behavior extensively. I believe I can explain why humans form bonds with predators." She activated a holographic display. It showed early human history. Humans evolved on a death world, alongside numerous apex predators. Bears, wolves, large cats, venomous serpents. Humans survived not by eliminating these threats, but by learning to coexist with them. The display shifted. 15,000 years ago, humans and wolves formed a partnership. The wolves helped humans hunt. Humans shared food and shelter. Both species benefited. This began the domestication of dogs. But why? Kira asked from her seat. Why not simply avoid the predators? Because humans recognized something, Daun explained. Predators are intelligent. They feel pain, fear, joy. They form social bonds. They can learn and adapt. Humans saw individuals, not just threats. The display showed images from modern Earth: dogs sleeping in beds, cats being carried in bags, horses being groomed by their owners. This philosophy extends to all animals humans encounter. They believe that every creature capable of feeling deserves compassion and respect. Even dangerous ones? Someone asked. Especially dangerous ones, Daun said. Humans believe that danger comes from fear and poor treatment. A predator that is fed, safe, and treated with kindness rarely attacks without cause. They have proven this thousands of times. President Haywon stepped forward again. My colleagues have presented data. Let me offer philosophy. On Earth, we have a saying: every life has value. Every creature has dignity. We do not dominate through force. We build relationships through trust. She pulled up images on her own display. Storm the Render, playing with Min Sok. The Midnight Terror, sleeping peacefully with Su Jin. Young Ho's pack of razorbacks, grooming each other contentedly. Taeyang holding Princess Fluff the tarantula. These creatures were called monsters, unkillable, untamable, pure evil. But look at them now. Content. Healthy. Living better lives because someone showed them kindness. She paused, letting the images speak. Every being that can love deserves to be loved. Every creature that can trust deserves to be trusted. We do not see weapons or threats. We see potential friends. Ambassador Threx stood. His scales had returned to their normal color. He had changed since visiting Earth. I must confess something to this council. I now keep a pet. A Earth creature, called a cat. Her name is Shadow. She is temperamental, occasionally aggressive, and completely illogical. And I love her more than I can explain. Gasps echoed through the chamber. A military commander? Keeping a pet? Unthinkable. The humans taught me something, Threx continued. Strength is not just physical power. It is also the ability to be gentle, to show mercy, to offer friendship to those who expect hostility. I am a better being because of what I learned from them. More delegates began standing. A floating jellyfish-like creature admitted to adopting a Earth rabbit. A crystalline being confessed to caring for a lizard. A species known for their rigid logic revealed they had started a program to save endangered predators from their own world, using human techniques. The changes were already spreading. Humans had been in the galactic community for less than 2 years, and already their philosophy was taking root. Elder Vox observed the chamber with his ancient eyes. It seems the human influence is more widespread than we realized. The question remains, what shall we do about it? Oh. 1. President Haywon smiled. We have a proposal. Earth would like to establish a galactic wildlife conservation initiative. We will help member species develop better relationships with their world's predators. We will share our domestication techniques, our enrichment programs, our understanding of animal behavior. And in return? Someone asked suspiciously. In return, we ask permission to establish cultural exchange programs. Human families living on your worlds, learning about your species while sharing our own customs, including our customs regarding animals. You want to spread your pet-keeping habits throughout the galaxy, Kira translated. We want to spread compassion throughout the galaxy, Haywon corrected. The universe has enough violence, enough fear. We believe it is better with more friendship, more understanding, more love. The vote took 3 hours. When it finished, the Galactic Wildlife Conservation Initiative passed with 73% approval. Humans would be officially allowed to pursue their conservation efforts across member worlds. 5 years later, the changes were obvious. Half the galaxy's children grew up with pets. Former military predators lived in sanctuaries run by human-trained keepers. Entire industries developed around animal enrichment, veterinary care, and interspecies bonding. Elder Vox, in his private quarters, made a final note in his journal. A small earth cat, gray with green eyes, slept on his desk. He still did not understand why he found the creature's presence soothing. He did not know why he talked to it when he was alone. He could not explain the strange warmth in his chest when it purred. But he knew the humans were right about one thing. The universe was better with more friends. He reached out and gently scratched behind the cat's ears. "Who is a good creature?" he whispered, borrowing the human phrase. "You are." "Yes, you are." The cat purred louder. Outside his window, the galaxy continued turning. Somewhere, a human was meeting a new alien predator for the first time. And somewhere else, that predator was about to discover that it did not have to be a monster. It could be a friend instead. President Hay-1 had said it best in her closing statement to the council. "You call them predators. We call them friends. The universe is better with more friends." And across 1,000 worlds, in 1,000 different languages, creatures that had once been feared were now being called by a name. Good creature, good friend, family. The Deathworlders had no natural enemies because somewhere along their evolution, they decided that enemies could become friends instead. And once that decision was made, it changed everything.